1. A flower garden is in the shape of an isosceles triangle. Each leg is 2 meters shorter than twice the base. If the perimeter is 256 meters, find the dimensions of the flower garden. Now, I know some of you guys are doing geometry at the same time, so what the heck is a isosceles triangle? It's an isosceles triangle.
You know where the
two sides are the same. So I'm going to draw myself an isosceles triangle. That's an isosceles triangle. Now it says each leg, which ones are the legs? The sides that are equal, those are the legs. Each leg is 2 meters shorter than twice the base. The problem is we don't know what the base is, so I'm going to call the base x. Now I can go back to the legs. Let's read that again. It says each leg is 2 meters shorter than twice the base. So that means this is 2x minus 2. 2 meters shorter than twice the base. So if this leg is 2x minus 2, well then so is the other. 2x minus 2. Now it says that the perimeter is 256 meters. Find the dimensions of the flower garden. How do you find perimeter? By adding up all the sides. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to take all the sides, and I'm going to add them up. There's one leg. There's the other leg. Plus the base. All of that equals 256. Now we're going to solve for x, but before I do that, I'm going to simplify the left side of the equation. I've got 2x plus 2x plus x. So I'll add all those x's together. Now you have 5x's. 2x plus 2x plus x equals 5x. Now I'm going to combine the negative 2 plus the negative 2. Negative 2 plus the negative 2 is a negative 4. So I've got 5x minus 4 equals 256. Now we're solving for x. And 4. 256 plus 4 is 260. Divide by 5. Help me out there. 260 divided by 5 is 52. 52. 52. Now keep in mind, 52 is only part of the answer, because the question up here says find the dimensions of the flower garden. So we got to find all the dimensions. Right now all we have is the base. We know the base is 52. But we still got to figure out what the legs are. So let's use what we know. We know it's 2x minus 2. So if I plug in a 52 here, 2 times 52 minus 2 would be how much? 102. So each leg is 102. All right, so the dimensions here are 102, 102, and 52. So these would be our solutions. All three of these. Make sure you have all three. You got that one right?
Take my quiz, please. And my dad does one. I told him last time.
What quiz are you talking about?
That one I had a 0 for the one I missed.
All right, number 2. Let's take a look at number 2.
You want to take me home?
Okay, number 2, Anton's Automobile is having a promotional day to bring in new customers. They are roping off an outdoor area adjacent to the sales building for tables and snacks. The long side of the roped off area is 5 feet shorter than 2.5 times the length of the small side. The third side is 16.5 feet longer than half the short side. If 111 feet 6 inches of rope is used to enclose the area, what is the length of each side? I mean, come on, it should be pretty obvious, right? No? Anybody think they got the answer to that one? You got something? All right, let's see here. Draw pictures. Pictures always help. Here's my building. There's the building. We got a roped off area adjacent to the building. So I'm going to show my roped off area. There's my roped off area. Now keep in mind, all the sides are a little bit different. So So this red represents my roped off area. Now let's go back through and read this again. It says the longer side of the roped off area is 5 feet shorter than 2.5 feet, or 2.5 times the length of the small side. The problem is we don't know what the small side is. So I'm going to call the small side X. X is going to represent my small side. So if I'm going to call X my small side, now I can come over here and name my long side. Again, it says the long side is 5 feet shorter than 2.5 times the short side. So that would be 2.x. It's 5 feet shorter, so minus 5. 2.5x minus 5. The third side is 16.5 feet longer than half the short side. How do you write 16.5 feet longer than half the short side? What would that look like? What expression am I going to use? Annika, what expression am I going to use for the third side? It's 16.5 feet longer than half the short side. Anisha, help us out. How am I going to write that expression for the third side? 6.5 feet longer than half the short side. Half x, or 0.5x, plus 16.5. There we have it. Now it says here they use a total of 111 feet 6 inches of rope, which basically gives us somewhat of a perimeter here. I'm going to take those three sides and add them together. So here's the short side. Here's the long side. And here's the third side. All of that equals 111 feet 6 inches. However, you need to keep in mind we are working strictly in feet here, not feet and inches. So I'm going to change that 6 inches into feet, which would be half a foot. So instead of using 11.6, we should be using 11.5. Be real careful. Don't make that mistake. All right, now we're ready to solve for x. First thing I'm going to do is combine all of my x's. I've got x plus 2.5x plus 0.5x. Get all that together. Now you have 4x. Now I'm going to get all my constants together, the negative 5 plus 16.5. Put that together, and we end up with a positive 11.5. Of course, it's still equal to 111.5. We're solving for x, so the next thing we're going to do is subtract 11.5. So now we have 4x is equal to 111.5 minus 11.5 is 100. Almost there. Divide by 4. 100 divided by 4 is 25. And remember, we're talking in feet here. So the question is, what is 25 feet? What's 25 feet, guys? Is that the answer? No, that's just the short side. Just the short side is 25 feet. What about the long side over here? Well, plug in the 25. 2.5 times 25 minus 5 gives us a 57.5. We do the same thing over here for the third side. If I plug in a 25 there, we should end up with a 29. So these are the lengths of each side. Of course, if you were to add all that together, it should equal 111 feet, 6 inches. Same thing. All right, let's get to the back page. We're going to skip number 3. I'll let you work on that. Let's go to number 4. Number 4. Who got this one? Anybody brave enough that want to come up here and show us how you got the answer? You got it? All right, come and walk us through it. Come and walk us through it. Number 4. Yes and no. Go ahead. All your work is right, but I'll explain. You left off one little tiny detail. But your work is right, so go for it. Show us. All right. Now stop right there. 4/5 x minus 4. Where did you get that from? Underline that part of the statement for me. Okay, 4 less than 4/5 of a number, right? So make sure you underline that, of a number. Now we're going to decrease that by twice the number. So grab a different color so we can see the difference. All right, so decrease by twice the number. So what did you do there? There you go. And underline that part of the sentence for me as well. All right. Now grab a different color. Next part says is less than or equal to. Underline that part. Is less than or equal to. So what did you do for that part? Very good. Grab one more color here. And the last part says 3/5 of the sum of a number and 4. So underline that statement. And what did you write for that statement? Very good. Notice the x plus 4 is in parentheses, guys, and that is important. All right, so what are we going to do from here? You've got it set up right. Make sure you don't write too big so we can get it all on. Okay. Combine those terms. Okay, when you combine those, you get a negative 6/5 x. Very good. Still got a minus 4. Now we're going to come over here and use some distributive property. And when you do distributive property, that's what you get. So still looking good. All right, now what? All right, so now he's going to subtract. He's going to get all the x's on the same side. Looks like he's moving them over to the right. Nothing wrong with that. Keep going. So 3/5 x plus 6/5 x is 9/5 x plus 12/5. Getting closer here. Keep going. Now we're going to subtract the 12/5. And a negative 4 minus 12/5 is, what is that? Crap.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Okay, let's see where he's at here. So we got a negative 4 and 12/5 is less than or equal to 9/5. Now what? 1x by itself. So what did you do after that? Okay, multiplying by the reciprocal. That should be just a positive. Just yeah. Go in there. Positive 9/5. Or 5/9. Okay, and what are we going to get when we multiply those together? Okay, no, that's right. Negative 32 over 9 is less than or equal to x. And that's what you guys got also, right? No? Not what you got? Now, Thank you, Mike. That is kind of correct. That is kind of correct. Now, some of you may write your answer like this. I personally prefer the x on the left side, so I usually write it as x is greater than or equal to negative 32 over 9. That doesn't mean that this answer is wrong. It's just the way I prefer to write it. However, even that is not correct. What's wrong with the answer? What's wrong with the answer? Anybody see it? What does it say at the top? It says find the integers for which make the following true. Negative 32 over 9 is not an integer. Even if I were to write it as a decimal. The decimal was, I believe, what was it? Negative 3.55. Even that is not an integer. Remember the other day on the board I had the integers written down? Integers are both positive numbers and negative numbers. Just keep in mind, when you're talking integers, there are no fractions and no decimals. So in our case, the first integer that is greater or equal to a negative 3.555 would be a, anybody know the first integer? Not negative 4. Negative 4 is smaller than that. Negative 2, well, we got one even before that. Negative 3. Negative 3 is our first integer that is greater than negative 3.55. What would be our next integer? Negative 2. Next integer, negative 1, then 0, 1, 2, 3, and keep going. So these are the answers. Those are integers. If you were to write this as the answer, unfortunately, even though you did all your work correctly, that would still be counted wrong because you did not answer the question. So be real careful. Be careful. All right, so that takes care of number 4. Let's do one more here. 5 or 6? I'll let you choose. Which one you want? 5 or 6? 5. All right, let's take a look at number 5. Marilyn wants to purchase a used car from Anton's Automobiles that costs $9,000. She wants to buy a car that's $9,000. She wants to pay off the car loan in 4 years. What simple interest rate allows her not to spend more than $3,000 on interest in the time period? Now, they gave you a hint here, and that hint is important. I stands for interest. P, anybody know what the P stood for? Y'all seen this equation before, right? P is for what? No. Well, we can use, in this case, it is going to be for the price, but it stands for principal. R, what does the R stand for? Rate. And T stands for time. And when we say time, we're talking in years here. So this is what we're going to use. All right, so let's see what we come up with. Let's start with the PRT. P is for principal or the price of the automobile. So we're going to start with $9,000. That's the P part. R stands for the rate, the interest rate. Well, we don't know the interest rate. Matter of fact, that's what we're looking for. So we're going to call the interest rate F. We have no idea what it is. That's what we're trying to find out. T represents time. Now, like I said, time represented in years. And we're talking about paying off this car loan in 4 years. So we're going to use 4 for T. So when I multiply the price of the car times the interest rate times 4 years, that's going to give me how much interest I have to pay. Now it says here she doesn't want to pay more than $3,000 on her interest. So we want to make sure that it's either less than or equal to $3,000. All right, so let's see what we get here. If we multiply 9,000 times 4, 9,000 times 4 is 36,000. X is less than or equal to 3,000. Then we're going to divide by 36,000. Help me out there. 3,000 divided by 36,000 is point something. 0.083333, something like that. Now remember, we were asked to find what is the simple interest rate. So we're talking a percentage here. And right now what I have is a decimal. I want percent. Anybody remember how to change a decimal into a percent? 2 decimals to the right. So if I move this 2 decimals to the right, what would that make it? 8.333%. So as long as she gets something less than or equal to 8.33%, she's not going to pay more than $3,000 on interest. So she got to pay $9,000 for the car itself, and then she's got to pay on that money that she's borrowing, and she doesn't want to pay more than $3,000. That's going to mean that she's going to have to pay 8.33% or less. Any questions? All right, guys, I need you to finish that up for me. If you want to work with a partner, just like we did the last time, you're more than welcome to do that.